Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you all can hear me. We are in Montreal. Yesterday the internet did not work so well, so I paid $15 to be able to bring the stream to you today. Looks like Facebook is not loading up for some reason. Not too sure why that is. May not have a Facebook stream today. Well, I guess we'll see. All right, looks like you all can see me on Instagram, so that's good. Let me just move this right here, move this right here. All right. Oh, yeah, good morning to everyone. Hope you're all having a great day. Today is, I don't even know what today is. I lose track of the days whenever we are traveling. Today is Tuesday. Tuesday is a pretty rough day. Not a whole lot happens on Tuesdays, but that's okay. Let's see. Actually, looks like I need to add this image back in again. Give me just 1 second. Let's do this. Forgive me, everyone who's listening to this on audio. It's always a mess in the morning. I thought everything was good to go, but it wasn't. Now it should be. Beth says, lovely robe. Yes, it is early in the morning. And, you know, early in the morning, might as well wear a robe. It is worth mentioning, I woke up, when did I wake up? I woke up, well, 8:30 a.m., but I went to bed at like 3 a.m. Yesterday, the tournament ran quite late. I mean, that was by design. It was a 4 p.m. start time. And whenever you start at 4 p.m., well, inevitably, what ends up happening is you play late. Give me just 1 second. I'm doing my best to make Facebook work for everyone over there. It's a fine balance between trying to make everything work and just not caring. And we're going to try to make everything work. It's very important to have integrity. Integrity doesn't just mean, like, you know, being a good person. Integrity also means doing what you say on a regular basis. And whenever you say, for example, you're going to do a little coffee at bright and early. At what time is it? At 9 a.m. You do it at 9 a.m. even if you have 5 hours of sleep. That's just the right thing to do. If you all can let me know how the internet's going, that would be beneficial because, like I said, yesterday it didn't work. All right. Do we still have a spot left for the breakfast? CFP. Yes, we do. We had 2 people cancel, so we have a few spots available. If you want to come to the breakfast that I'm having on the 1st, which I guess is not tomorrow but the next day, send me a message at support@pokercoaching.com and I will get you on the list. How was my WPT yesterday? It was fine. In the second level, the levels were 1 hour. I made trips twice. I think I had trips twice. And I like blasted it on the river both times. I think I 2x potted it on the river once and 1.5x potted it on the river the second time. And I got paid both times. It was pretty fun because it was very clear to me that the opponents had a good hand. A good but non-nut hand. Like on one, I think I had 10-8 suited, I raised, and then the big blind called. No, small blind called, which is way more important than if the big blind calls, because small blind should not have very many 8s, right? It came king 8-8. He checked, I bet. He called on the turn. He checked, I bet big. I actually just ran a bluff in the similar spot. No one saw it. Didn't get to the showdown. And he called my big turn bet, and then he checked the river. It's just like so crystal clear to me that he has a king. Or if he does have an 8, it's either going to be ace-8 or a hand like 9-8, 10-8, 8-7, or 8-6 suited. Maybe jack-8 suited. So, you know, we're just in fantastic shape against that range, and I had been playing rather aggressively, so he paid. So that was good. I don't quite remember the other one. I have them written up on my phone, but while I'm using my phone to stream on Instagram. Someone wants to know how a pocket king's hand went yesterday. This was early in the day, actually. Someone raised to 600 from the hijack seat, Cutoff called. And Cutoff had been loose, splashy. Hijack had been very, very loose and aggressive up to this point. So I got pocket kings on the button. It went 600 call, or maybe a 500 call. I made it 2400 on the button with pocket kings. Pretty standard spot. Initial raiser called. This is out of my 40k effective stack. For me and the initial raiser. But then the cutoff decided to back jam all in. Nothing to see here, right? Obviously I'm calling with pocket kings. He had ace-3 suited and was just tired of me 3-betting, apparently. There's a lot of 3-betting at the table, and sometimes people just don't like it when you 3-bet. And if you 3-bet, they're going to show you who's boss. So, simple pre-flop hand. Not much to say. Just got it in pre-flop and lost. So that was annoying. We lost lots of our chips back right immediately. And then on the very next hand, I had a pretty rough spot against the same kid who paid me off with trips later, where loose aggressive low jack seat raise. This was the very next hand. I called and the cutoff with pocket eights. Big blind called. It comes 9-6-3. 9-6-3. They checked to me. I bet 1,000 into a 1,600 pot or so. I bet 1,500. I'm sorry, I bet 1,000. Then the big blind made it 3,000 on 9-6-3. Two clubs. Oh, two hearts. And I had the 8 of hearts, which is actually not really good here because you want to make sure you don't block their hearts in the ideal world. Are we using the wrong camera here? Don't tell me I've been using the wrong camera this whole time. I don't think we are. It just looks so blue. So came 9-6-3. We got check raised. And at that point, it's a little weak to fold because if the opponent is decent, he should have a lot of draws. The problem is I have 8, so I block a lot of the draws. But this player had been very loose, very splashy. I decided to peel. Maybe I'm supposed to just fold. This guy had been overplaying a lot of marginal made hands, which is not really a good thing when you have a hand that loses to marginal made hands, right? If he's check raising 10-9 on 9-6-4 or 9-6-3, doesn't do me a whole lot of good, right? Anyway, I decided to call. Turn was a 5, giving me a gut shot, and giving me a gut shot in the set draw. So then he got 5,000 with 11,000 behind. And I decided to shove. And if you all know my training content, this is not a spot where I'm very often shoving. But I thought there was some chance he'd be overvaluing even a worse hand, like a junky middle pair. Like a hand like 7-6 that just turned a straight draw. Or perhaps a hand like Queen Jack of Hearts, King Jack of Hearts, Jack 10 of Hearts, all sorts of stuff like that. So, back to this poker hand. I decided to get it all in with the pocket 8s. He had 9-6 suited for an obvious made hand, and we lost. So that put us back to a starting stack. From there, we just hung around. Then I tried to run a bluff late in the day in a pretty standard spot. I talked to another good kid at the table later, and he said he was shocked it didn't work, so maybe just unlucky. But that left me with about 6,000 chips. I basically bluffed off my whole stack. People say, why would you ever bluff off your whole stack? Well, you need to bluff sometimes. And from there, I got it all in good once. I was drawing against gut shot in a straight draw, actually, so that was good. We won that one. And then we won a few other pots. So we ended the day with 22,000 chips, which is right about half a starting stack. Going back, that's going to be 25 big blinds. So not a ton, not a little. We'll hang around. We have the opportunity to rebuy on day 1. I'm sorry, on day 2. We can rebuy in for a few levels on day 2. And we'll see how that goes. So today, I wanted to talk about a question that came in yesterday. And that was, what do you do if you play poker but your significant others do not like it? And significant others could mean anything here. It can mean your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, best friend, maybe even acquaintances, really. We guess we can talk about all that. But in general, it's a tough thing because quite often poker is a hobby that, for a lot of people, that they love, but they can invest as much time as they want into poker. Presumably, if you all are here, you are watching poker streams in the morning, you are playing poker, and it's very, very easy to spend a lot of time on poker. And the thing is that a lot of people don't win money at poker. They just do it because they like it. And that makes it a hobby where they're not really producing anything, and that's fine, because most people do not produce anything with their hobbies. The issue often arises whenever you are losing significant money. And the thing is, with poker, inevitably, you're going to go on downswings. And if you tell any normal human about your downswings, they're going to think that you're insane, right? And if that you tell them about your upswings, then they just think that's good and normal, right? That's the problem, is people don't really care whenever you win, but they do care when you lose. So, how did I go about telling my parents that I am quitting college, giving up a scholarship, and I'm going to play poker? Well, I provided them with about 6 months of very consistent results. And I was winning about $20,000 a month as a 19-year-old kid, something like that. I was either 18 or 19. So, when I provided these results, I had a notepad where I kept track of every single sit and go that I played on Party Poker. And I had very, very diligent results. It was a pile of data. And, you know, the game was quite soft then. The sit and goes back then were. I could play a ton of them, about 3,000 a month. And, you know, I had, I think, 1 or 2 losing months or out of that pile of time. But then the other 4 or 5 or 6, whatever I provided, was good. And over that time, I guess I'd won probably about $120,000, which is significant money, right? So I had it easy, and that I knew I need to keep results, and I was winning at poker, right? If you do not keep results, and you are not winning at poker, well, you have a lot more difficult time, right? Because people do not support people who are losing their money. They just don't like that idea, especially if that money is also their money. So if you have a significant other and you are playing poker with money that is communal money, family money, and I realize lots of people share their money together, well, that's a problem, right? Because clearly they don't want you losing their money. And, you know, in all reality, I don't know if you should be losing their money. I think you need to make sure that in any relationship, both people have their own disposable income. And probably it should be an equal amount of disposable income. The problem with poker, though, is that if you lose $200 playing a $200 tournament, you didn't really lose $200. You lost $200 in equity. And equity is a hard thing to get across to a lot of people because they think, what happened, that is what happened, that is all that is. It's going to be like the worst audio version to listen to ever. Sorry about that, everyone listening on the audio. I have this program here that tells me whenever I have dropped frames, and whenever it drops frames, well, I know to stop and restart the stream. I don't think I'm going to do any more little coffees from Montreal, though, because, well, the internet's not so good. Anyway, back to trying to let people know that you like playing poker, and that's what you do. The thing is that poker is a big hobby. It's not like watching one sports team play a game once a week. It's very, very different than that, right? Because often you're spending many, many, many hours playing poker. And if people care about you, then they want to spend time with you inevitably. And if people want to spend time with you, they don't like the idea that you're going to go and do something for 8 hours, 2 days a week, right? That's all of your free time for most people. So you need to figure out what and how poker is to you and to your relationships. Now, with my wife, I was also rather lucky in that I was already a well-established poker player when I met her. And she knew that I played poker. So it was never an issue when I said, all right, I'm going to go to Montreal to play the Party Poker Series for a week. She's not going to say, no, you can't do that because I don't like poker, right? That'd be like me telling her I don't like her career. And if I did not like her career, well, you know, I can get over it because that's her career. So, things you can do to alleviate the fact that people may or may not like poker in your life. You can keep your own separate bankroll. You do this by keeping disposable money available to every party involved. If it's like a friend, clearly your friend may have problems with you gambling in general, but that's often coming from them just looking out for you. You have to make it clear to the people involved and to the parties involved that you are doing something productive with your time. Now, if you're not doing something productive with your time, if you're not actively improving at poker at least, I'm not going to say you shouldn't play, because clearly people can and should be able to do exactly what they want, but realize you may not be using your time wisely. And you only have so much time in this world. So there's definitely nothing wrong with sitting around, splashing it, and gambling, but don't play 40 hours a week and lose everyone's money. You need to convince the people involved that you are doing useful and productive things. So how do you convince people who don't know anything about gambling that you're doing useful and productive things? First things first, education. You need to educate the people who don't like your poker game, right? So with my parents, I made it clear to them that I was a winning player. I explained variance. I explained how things were going to play out as they have played out previously. I had a backup plan in place. If I somehow lost all my money, I wasn't going to lose all my money. I think when I quit college, I had something like $200,000. And I had essentially set aside $50,000 to go back to college, which was enough to go to college, to finish my degree at least. And that's good, right? I was doing way better than expected. But when you're not doing better than expected and you just enjoy something, you have to ask, is this thing beneficial to my life? And do I enjoy it? There's two different things. There are things in my life that are not necessarily beneficial. Like I like playing Magic the Gathering. It's not really beneficial. I just enjoy it. That said, I haven't played Magic the Gathering in 6 months because I'm busy. So you have to have your priorities straight, right? When you have a lot of free time, you can very often afford to have many, I'm not gonna call them leaks of time, but things that you do that you just enjoy. So what else? So we have a question about random people. I'm going to discuss that in a minute. Make sure I do discuss random people. So you can also introduce these other people to the game. Whenever I first started playing poker, my parents thought gambling was bad, because that's just how they were raised. Their only experiences at a casino were going and losing their hard-earned $200, and they did not like gambling. So I helped explain the games to them. I showed them they're not bad, evil games. They're fun. They're good games. They're just solid math and psychology games. So I helped them understand what poker was, right? So educating people will often help them as well. We had a question about, what do you do about random people on the street who ask what you do for a living? Or if you're at a cocktail party and people are just chit-chatting and everyone says what they do. What do you do? Well, often people think poker players are either cool or losers. One of the two. like a rock star, right? Or a musician. Musicians are either cool or they're losers. Poker players are kind of similar. People who think you're losers, well, you have to understand they're very likely just uneducated. People who think you're cool very often think you are doing something on the fringe, something neat, something abnormal. And to be fair, you probably are. So the question is, do you want to have a 20-minute conversation with them? Not my words, someone's words in the chat. And I never mind it, because I try to be an ambassador for poker. My job in my mind is to make people understand that poker is a great thing, assuming you enjoy playing games. It's a game like chess. It's a game like, well, it's like any game, really. I mean, would people look down on you or think you are a degenerate for liking to play checkers? The answer is no. That'd be absurd. Unless they're chess players. So then, if you don't want to talk to people about your job, say, I am blank, and then insert whatever your previous job was, and don't worry about it. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you just to straight up lie to people, because again, you need to have integrity. But I do understand that a lot of people don't like the idea of having to explain the same thing over and over again. And whenever you do something like explain your job to people who do not know you, it gets repetitive. Gang says he raised with ace-9 for 400,000. I don't know how many big blinds that is. And someone went all in for essentially a min raise. What should you have done? Well, obviously you call. You're getting great pot odds. It's just a math problem, gang. Anytime you all have a math problem, do not ask me these questions. Please, please, please. It's a waste of everyone's time. In this spot, you had to put in 600K to win 2 million. You need to have 30% equity. Are you going to win 30% of the time? Yes. Obviously, you always win 30% of the time with ace-9. Plus, there's probably dead money in the pot. So easy call. Assuming the guy's all in, right? And you do say went all in. It's just a math problem. Anytime you have a math problem, let me explain. Whenever you have a simple math problem is when you raise, someone goes all in, and it's on you. Straight, pure pot odds question. You have to put an X amount to win X amount of chips. That shows how much equity you have. Run your hand against his range. Obviously, ace-9's in bad shape against the range, but it doesn't matter. You have to call. Sometimes some other questions are more interesting, like say someone raises, and should you go all in or fold with your 9-7 suited? It's a math problem. We have the fold equity calculator on my sites where it'll let you know, should you be shoving in these spots? You put in your opponent's range, you put in their calling range, their opening range and their calling range, figure out your equity and go from there. Same thing, right? Just a math problem. Learn to do the math. If you don't know how to do the math, you're not going to succeed. I mean, I don't know how to say it any more clearly. You're going to have a tough time winning at poker if you do not take even an hour to learn basic math spots. Bass says, you always found it difficult to elaborate and discuss your financial ventures with random people. You know, for some reason, money, in particular, is a very odd thing for some people to talk about. I think very often families, I mean, this is just me purely speculating, I don't know. Very often people who come from families where money is not openly discussed, I think that often leads to them feeling a little bit uneasy about talking about money. And I mean, in the normal world, you would never go to a cocktail party and ask a lawyer, how much did you make last year? Or any person there. You don't ask the bartender as a line of chit-chat, so how much do you make per hour? That'd be absurd, right? But people have no problem asking a poker player, what's your biggest win? How much can you win playing poker? You know, stuff like this. And that's, you have to understand that, again, this just comes from a lack of education. People think that your biggest win somehow is indicative of your average results. Or they think, how much can you make playing poker is a question more of, how much can I make playing poker? As someone who has literally never touched the game, can I do what you do? I'm not going to say they're insulting you. Maybe they're subconsciously insulting you because like, oh, you can make $100 an hour? Well, then so can I. But I don't know. I don't think anyone's trying to be insulting with these questions. That's the very important thing to understand, is that you can often tell when someone's being condescending, and more often than not, they are not being condescending. And if they are being condescending, it comes from a place of lack of experience, lack of education, and it's like ignorance, you know? You have to understand, you're going to be ignorant about most things in life, right? Like, I have no clue how to make this microphone sitting here. I have no clue how to make it. I'm as ignorant as I could be. And I don't feel bad about that, right? That's just fine. So, it's okay. And some people are just ignorant about poker. And if you care about helping people, well then, you know, help people. If you don't care about that, if you don't care about educating people and helping people, then don't do it. Chris says it's always difficult to move up in poker. Of course it is. There is a chapter in my book, Excelling at No Limit Hold'em. You can find it at hold'embook.com. It's by Ed Miller, and it is on moving up and staying up. He explains exactly the steps to take to do it. It's very clearly outlined, and I can tell you that it works, because that's what essentially most people do. Essentially, you look at the losers, or you figure out why you're winning in your game. You look at the losers and the game higher than yours, which are often the winners or the break-even players in your game, figure out how to beat those. Then you figure out how to beat the regs, the good players who are winning in the bigger game. And then you know how to beat the bad players. They know how to beat the good players, and then you're kind of set. Obviously, it's not always that easy. As you move up higher and higher, the good players become very good, and you're just not going to beat them. You're going to essentially break even against them. And you go from there. But anyway, that's what you should do. Yeah, so a lot of people are saying that money issues seem to be a difficult thing for some people to discuss. And I don't know why that is. I think it's because they really associate money with success. And money, there's always a saying, like, money is the way you keep score or something like this. But it's not really. Money is just a tool to transfer your value that you provide to the world to other people in exchange for value that they are providing. And the amount of money you make essentially tells you the value of what your productions are. Like, for example, if you do nothing, you will not get any money, right? Clear, obvious, nothing fancy there. If you provide a lot of value, you'll get paid a lot of money. In poker, you are getting paid based on your skill level, and not just your technical skills, but also your game selection skills and your mindset skills, playing at the right times. There's a lot more than just your pure technical skills, but in poker, that is essentially how it works. And I think a lot of people think that when they are discussing their money situations, that people are always going to be comparing them to the absolute best possible people, or they're going to perhaps be looking down at them. And I think that comes from a point of view of perhaps you judging other people, right? You think someone says something and I judge what they say, but you're not the judge, unless you are a judge. And even then, you're only a judge in certain cases. You really should not be judging other people. You should instead just be observing, learning, seeing if you can better yourselves by learning from other people. How many hours did I sleep last night? About 5. I went to bed at about 3:30 and I woke up at about 8:30. So we had 5 hours of sleep. It's not enough. I'll probably take a nap today. There's a Halloween party tonight in Montreal that Party Poker and the World Poker Tour are putting on, and I'm going to go to that for sure. That's going to be at, I think, 10 p.m., so kind of late. Tomorrow's an off day for me again, though. We made it through day 1A with a whopping half of a starting stack, which is lame, but okay. So I have 2 off days. They have a few satellites on Party Poker that I hear are going to be great today. I think at 4 p.m., something like that. So I'm going to check that out too. Maybe play a little bit of online poker. We haven't played online poker in a while. So yeah, that's the plan. But anyway, educate people that you care about. Understand that they may just straight up not like your hobby. Whenever I hear people say things like, my wife hates that I play poker, I always ask myself, would I do something on a regular basis that I know that my wife hates? It doesn't seem right? It does not seem ethical, at least in my opinion. Maybe you don't care about your wife. I care about my wife. Obviously, I'm sure everyone out there cares about their wives. So the question is, do you mind doing something that she just doesn't like? And I just wouldn't do something that she doesn't like. Like, for example, I used to like playing the weekly Magic the Gathering tournament on Saturdays. And, that it would be a tournament online. It would take 4 or 5 hours, and I would love it. But my wife didn't like it. So what did I do? I stopped playing it. Because I care about my wife more than I care about Magic the Gathering tournaments on the internet, right? It's like a no-brainer. So I think it's important to develop compromises. A few of my students who are very successful business people, they can do whatever they want to do, right? They have often negotiations with their significant others to the point where both couples have a hobby and they do them independently from each other, like going to the World Series. And so they will negotiate. All right, we're going to take 5 weeks this year to go play poker. You're going to be able to have 5 weeks to go do whatever you want to do. Whatever the other significant other's hobby is. And they go and they do it, right? And that's it. Whenever the other one's gone, the other one stays home and watches the kid. And they chop up the responsibilities. They both get to do what they want to do. They're happy with it. The situation's great. So, you have to negotiate. Don't just say, I don't care what you think to your significant other, because that's clearly not a good way to have a relationship. And be respectful, right? I think a lot of people are very selfish, and I think you're going to find that if you are happy to put other people, I'm not going to say necessarily before you, but at least on a relatively equal playing field, that's going to result in them respecting you and wanting to work with you and being reasonable, right? Really, don't be selfish. I think a lot of people get in their minds that if I don't take, I'm not going to get anything. But that's not really true. If you help out people, if you provide value to people, they're going to be more than happy to help you out. Like whenever I'm home, for example, with my family, I'm always happy to watch our son or do errands or whatever I need to do to try to make my wife's life easier. Because I realize she sacrifices when I am gone to make my life easier. I don't have to take care of our son at all. I don't have to do anything when I'm traveling besides exactly play poker. And that's a sacrifice she makes. And in turn, I try to make her life easy so she can get her work done whenever I am at home, right? You have to work together. So work together with people. But yeah, sum it up. Try to help them understand what you do. Try to make sure what you're doing is productive. Try to be reasonable. And I think those 3 things alone will be very, very beneficial. Chris says he gives your wife a cut of your winnings. So that's an interesting concept. The problem you're going to find, though, I think, I could be wrong, but I think, is that if you give a percentage of your winnings to someone to spend on non-poker things, then you're not going to be a winning player. Or at least you're going to have a way harder time being a winning player. And it also depends on how you go about doing this, right? Like if you give exactly half of your, or some portion of your winnings, then it's just going to be hard to be a winner, is what it amounts to. This is why, I mean, many players lose just because of the rake, right? If you're paying a percentage to play, it's going to be tough to win. Now, if you rarely win, like let's say you play tournaments, it may actually be sustainable. But if you play cash games and just every winning session is 20% less than it actually should be, then that's difficult. So you say it's harder for you to win in the long term. And so you have to ask, like, why do I need to pay my wife to be fine with my hobby? I don't think you should have to pay your wife to be fine with your hobby, and she should not have to pay you to be fine with her hobby. I just don't understand that concept. It seems like a very superficial way to, it's like a Band-Aid, right? It doesn't necessarily solve the problem, in my opinion. That said, I mean, I'm sure it works for a lot of people. I know a lot of people, whenever they win a big tournament, they like to buy stuff for people. They like to buy new clothes, or they like to buy a car, or they like to buy whatever. And that's a huge drain on their bankroll, and they don't necessarily see it because they only pay it when they win. But long term, like imagine every time you win $10,000, you take $1,000 and light it on fire. Doing whatever, it's not really lighting it on fire. You go on a vacation or whatever. At the end of the year, or if you do this for 10 times, you know, let's say you win 1 time per year, you've now lit $10,000 on fire, right? $10,000 is a lot to light on fire. And you just can't be lighting $10,000 on fire over and over and over again. And that's kind of what happens whenever you take out money from your bankroll and just lose it. Any advice on getting a girlfriend? I've had a few girlfriends, not a ton. I would tell you to figure out what you like in life, what you aspire to do in life, and find someone who has similar values and similar goals. You want to make sure that you and your significant other are both on the same page. I had one girlfriend a while back who started off ambitious, but she, for some reason, lost her ambition to do anything. And that's probably because, this is my pure speculation, I don't know for sure. And I'm not trying to talk down about her at all, she was very nice. I was doing great at poker, making plenty of money, so she did not need to work. And I took care of everything, so she didn't really need to do anything. And I think a lot of people, whenever they don't need to do anything, often they resort to doing whatever the most baseline thing is. And for her, that was sitting at home and watching TV. Because it was easy. In a lot of people's world, that's what they would do. If you said, you know what, you don't really have to work, and you don't have to really take care of anything, they're just not. And I think actually a lot of people have that thought process, like, okay, if I lose my job and I don't need money anymore, like if I win the lottery, what would I do? Whenever the lottery craze was happening a few weeks ago, I was looking up biggest winners, and like 90% of their articles said, I walked right into my office and quit. I quit my job, and then I never worked again. Because in most people's minds, being lazy is good or desired or something that they need to have in their life. Like, they think that's the goal. But you're going to find most people who have lots and lots of money don't really work for the money. They work because they enjoy working. They enjoy developing something and building something and making the world better. And you're not really doing it for the money. But again, you provide value to people, right? You provide value and you get paid because of the value you provide. But most people don't think of money that way. They think of money as simply something they have to pay their bills. And once they have that taken care of, then they never need to think about it again. It's an interesting thought experiment. Like, imagine you just have infinite money. You don't need money anymore. What would you do with your time? And if the answer is sit on a couch and do nothing, make sure your significant other would also sit on the couch and do nothing. Otherwise, they're not going to be happy with the fact that you're sitting on the couch doing nothing. And again, there's nothing like wrong with that. Don't think I'm saying it's a bad thing to just not do anything or to not have ambitions. A lot of people just don't have ambitions. Often people who are overworked at a job they don't like don't really have ambitions. And I think you're going to find that usually if you are relatively productive and relatively active in life, you will develop ambitions over time, especially if you're not doing anything anymore. But don't think that the goal is to do nothing. The goal is to be able to do more. D-Trip says, YouTube went down. Yes, we know that. Thank you. All of the other sites besides exactly Instagram went down. The internet connection here is not very good. So, what if you are, what if you like playing poker? Do you need to find a significant other who also likes playing poker? I don't think that's necessarily true. I think you do need to find a significant other who has a hobby. Ideally a hobby that they can do whenever you're doing your hobby. Because, poker's not for everyone. I mean, that's like saying that you must like exactly basketball, otherwise I don't like you. That'd be silly. So don't think that that is necessarily the right way to approach it. I suggest you generally don't meet ladies in bars or nightclubs or something like that, because whenever you meet someone at a nightclub or a bar, very often the only thing you know about them is that they like to drink alcohol and they like very, very loud environments. Both of those are not so conducive to good relationships, in my opinion, at least. If you like drinking in loud environments, I guess that's good. But I think you're going to want to have connections with people. And very often you get connections with people by talking with them and not being drunk. How do you have more discipline? You tilt when you get bad beat. Well, realize the bad beats are irrelevant and out of your control. You have to view poker as a long-term game. And you also have to understand that if every time you play poorly, you're giving your money away. Why do you want to give your money away? Think of your family. It's also often a very, very easy tactic to use. Attach emotions to it. If you have kids, imagine every time you go on tilt, you're taking your children's future and throwing it in the garbage because you are too big of a baby to deal with it. It's a little bit harsh, I know. But it's often right. Whenever you go on tilt, you are saying that I value my childlike behaviors over my future and the future of my loved ones. Always think about the trade you're making. And that's the trade you're making. When you go on tilt, that is the trade you're making. Is it okay to pay expenses out of your bankroll, out of your winnings? Well, in theory, yes, that's just rake, right? Whenever you are trying to win money at poker, your expenses count against you. If the rake is high, you got to count for a high rake. If the rake is low, you have low rake. If you have to buy drinks at your casino, say the bottle of water costs $5 instead of a $1 tip, well, you need to account for that bottle of water you drink every hour, right? If you have to drive a long way to go play, you have to account for that. I have a blog post about this, jonathanlittlepoker.com/travel-rake. How many questions should you do a day on poker coaching? However many you feel like. I have a site, pokercoaching.com. We're having a pretty cool bonus promotion now so that I can spend more time focusing on it. So If you're not on my email list, well, you probably missed out, but there's a post on Instagram about it actually, so check that out. What do Amy and I have in common? We're both reasonable humans. We don't tend to go out and party too much, or ever, so that's good. We like talking and discussing our thoughts. We enjoy roughly the same TV shows. We like just relaxing, walking and going for walks. We both knew we wanted a kid or two. We both have ambitions in our job. So yeah, that's it. But she does not really play poker. And I guess to be fair, she doesn't really have many hobbies because she's working a lot. I think she should probably develop a hobby, but it's hard to develop a hobby when you have no time. Whenever you have kids, your kids become your hobby. So maybe she doesn't need a hobby because both of us literally have almost no time. Everything we do is either work or family related. Everything. So, but we have lots of that stuff in common. When placing a chip in the pot, do you use the same hand motion? Generally. Do you pay attention to others' motions? Personally, I do. I have a blog post about this too. I think it's something like What I Learned from Zach Elwood. You can Google that. And Jonathan Little, What I Learned from Zach Elwood, and it'll probably come right up. You still play online? I'm going to play online poker today. Oh my gosh. Every day people ask me about what I think about on unregulated poker sites. Go back and watch one of the previous A Little Coffees. I discuss it every single time. To sum it up, keep almost no money on there. They will take your money eventually. And you never know if the games are super legit. I presume they are legit. But they will take your last cash out eventually. So keep that in mind. Don't keep money on there that you are fine losing. Treat them like going to the movie. When you go to the movie and have dinner, you understand that you are probably not going to win any money. You're going to lose. But you're going to get entertainment. So that's okay. You want information about poker coaching? PokerCoaching.com has lots and lots of quizzes. I don't know exactly how many, 300 or so. Some by myself, some by Alex Fitzgerald, and some by Matt Affleck, two great poker players. And then it also has homework questions, where every month I present an in-depth question discussing some specific aspect of poker. Usually it's a situation where I ask, what is your pre-flop raising range? Let's say you raise cutoff. What's your raising range in this spot? You have to tell me your whole range. Say big blind calls, flop comes, the big blind checks. What is your whole range on a specific flop, like 9-8-3? What are you doing with each portion of your range, each hand in your range? Let's say your opponent raises you. Now, how do you defend against the raise? And we're trying to develop sound strategies so that you are just not bad at poker, right? You want to make sure that every time you bet and every time you check, there are some strengths and weaknesses in your range. You don't want to have all nut hands or all garbage, because then you're just easy to play against. So we discuss how to break down ranges and go from there. Have I ever met Ben Affleck? I have not. I'm not really into celebrities. A lot of people really love celebrities, but I'm not so into celebrities because I think I realize they're just people. And also, it's not like I'm really into movies. I always think it's weird whenever people who are not really into movies really like movies celebrities. It's bizarre to me. It's like, if I don't like soccer, why would I care if I see the best soccer player? It's just like not a thing to me. People like hype. Never really been into hype. D. Nelson says you got in trouble when you flop top pair in a gut shot. And you check raise the flop. That's aggressive. Why check raise a marginal made hand? Marginal made hand should often be check called. And you called against an overpair. Well, yeah, I mean, you had a marginal made hand. You probably played it fine. Maybe you're supposed to fold the river. I'm a celebrity to you. Well, good. I do my best. But I'm not trying to be a celebrity. I'm trying to be someone who helps you better your life. Most celebrities are not trying to help you better your life. They're trying to make money. And they do that by making movies or making music or whatever. But I think that the people who have helped me the most are not the people who have tried to be flashy and show how great they are. They're the people who have had no problem helping me or anyone else whenever they ask for help, right? And they often develop all sorts of resources to help people. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to get better. At least like-minded people who are trying to improve or trying to get better. And I want to be what those people are to me. I do my best with that. Let's see. Yesterday, you're playing with a major drunk player who made poor choices. You felt bad for him. Don't feel bad for people. They're adults. They make their own decisions. This makes you not want to take their money. Well, if you don't want to take their money, you don't have to take their money. Just realize you're not going to win. Whenever you sit down to play any game, any competitive game at least, very often your goal is to win the game. Sometimes there are corner cases in poker where that's not necessarily true. Like whenever you're talking about a private cash game that you want to keep around for forever, maybe you don't want to win the maximum. But at the end of the day, you are entering a contract when you sit down at a poker table to try to win the most money possible. Everyone enters with that agreement. Some take it more seriously and care about it more than others. So if someone decides to be irresponsible at the table, whether or not they're drunk, what if the guy wasn't drunk and he was just bad? Would that change things? Why does the fact that his beverage of why does his beverage of choice impact your feelings about him? What if he had 18 Big Macs at the table and was equally drunk off sugar? You know, would you feel bad about that? I mean, probably not. So I think the fact that they made poor choices is probably impacting your feelings. Maybe you feel bad for people who have drinking problems or substance addictions in general. And you know, it's certainly not a good thing. Clearly, you'd rather not be addicted to things. But we're all adults. We're all making our decisions. Some people feel bad for people who go to the casino and lose money at anything. They feel bad for them. And, you know, I don't feel bad for them. I mean, we all sign up for what we signed up for. To wear glasses at the table, I don't. I never really needed the glasses. The glasses were more for the other opponent's comfort. I've kind of, meaning I don't necessarily like them knowing what exactly I'm looking at. Because if they know what you're looking at, they may subtly adjust. And so I don't think most people pay attention though, from what I see. As long as you're not doing some insane overt staring, then it doesn't really, I don't think the glasses are that relevant. But if you have terrible eye tells, like say, you know, you blink every time you're bluffing, then, you know, clearly you should just stop doing that. Glasses are a Band-Aid. And, you know, Band-Aids are fine in the short run, but in the long run, you probably don't need them. Isaac Haxton got rich from backing Justin Bonomo. Okay, sure. I think Isaac Haxton got rich from being really good at heads up no limit hold'em. Can we talk about taking small stakes players and helping them become higher stakes players? I mean, usually people have 5 or 10 things they do really, really wrong. And that's it. They're like pretty good besides that. And if you plug those 5 or 10 leaks, which is not hard to do, if you show me 100 hands, we're going to find a lot of your leaks. And you take those 5 or 10 leaks, you plug them, and you go from being a losing player to a break-even or winning player. It really is that easy. Most people have big holes in their game, in the small stakes at least. And it's just not hard to say. For example, stop check raising top pair with a gut shot. Just check call it. Against most people, it's going to be way better. Not necessarily always. Maybe not even necessarily against good players. But against most recreational players, there's no point in check raising if they're only going to continue when you're beat, right? So if you plug that leak, you're good to go. And that situation comes up a lot, where you have some marginal made hand and you're facing aggression. So there are all sorts of leaks. I have many, many blog posts about this. I have lots of top 10 and top 5 mistakes people make. So go back and read those. But it's not hard to take someone who's like at least okay at poker and plugging their leaks and making them immediately significantly more profitable. I mean, I'll tell you, whenever I was playing sit and goes, I paid a very good sit and go player $500 an hour to teach me to become better. And really, he only did 2 things. I'm trying to remember one of them. But one of them was stop open pushing ace-X from early position. It was a small losing play. This was when I had like 8 or 10 big blinds. I have like ace-7 offsuit and just shove. But it's a fold. I did not do the math ahead of time. And I was losing because of it. I actually wasn't losing. I was still a small winner. But I immediately saw an increase in my return on investment, and I started winning more money. Immediately. I paid off his coaching within a month. $5,000 of it that I bought, I had it paid off within a month on my small return on investment increase. He found a leak and he plugged it, and we made more money. It was that easy. So if you have holes in your game, plug the leaks. And most people have 5 or 10 leaks, and 5 or 10 leaks is a lot. If you have 5 or 10 big leaks that occur regularly, you're just going to get crushed. Like, say, for example, you fold the big blind every time the button raises unless you have a really good hand. It's a big leak. Say you you call from the big blind pre-flop and then check fold every time you miss. It's also a big leak. Say you don't account for raise sizes. It's a big leak. Very often you'll hear it like 1-2. Someone will raise to $14, someone will call, and then the big blind will call with 8-6 suited. Awful call. And often they try to justify this by saying, well, everyone calls in this spot, don't they? No, they don't. Not the good players. And in fact, the good players are being really tight there because you're out of position for a huge pot. But if you face a min raise, you should call with the 8-6 suited every day. So just not accounting for that is a gigantic mistake, right? So you don't want to have gigantic mistakes in your game. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Instagram's going to make me turn off in 2 or 3 minutes anyway. Hope you all have a great day. If you're in Montreal, be sure to say hi. Do I still do one-on-one coaching? Not as much as I used to, but I consider students. You can email support@pokercoaching.com, and I will get you information about that. All right, good luck in your games. Have fun. Be nice to someone. Don't be too crazy. I'll talk to you later.